Hello and welcome back to another Warhammer 3 video we have for today. Big news, CA has just released a blog post on Sea Lord Aislinn detailing his start position, new units and mechanics, as well as his Lord Select screen with his starting army. But before we go over all that, let's check out his start position, and that would be the Eastern Isles, a place where everyone figured out the new High Elf Legendary Lord was going to be, since there was an old non-player faction there for quite a long time, I think as well as Warhammer 2. I'm a big fan of the start since it really opens up the whole map for your seafaring campaign, as well as letting you choose where to go since you have the whole map to explore. Now let's dive into his campaign mechanics. Despite his naval focus, Aislinn's campaign is still one of limited territorial conquest. While as a commander of his own dragon ship, he must gather the rare resources necessary to construct a fleet of 5 such vessels, including his own. In order to head off the Druchii invasion, to do so, he must conquer enemy settlements and dedicate their ownership to the major elven legendary lords, such as Tyrion, Teclis, Illyriel, Elithadnar, Emmerich, and Althorion. Let's call them the Big Six for shorthand. I did butcher some of those names, so that's my bad. But besides that, the dragon ships sound really cool. It's kind of a shame you only get 5, but they're still interesting nonetheless. I do think it's cool that they're adding all the legendary lords part of this, so it kind of feels cohesive, like they're all one faction. Now we're going to go over the rest. By doing so, he can win their support and enlist their aid, improving his own forces, as well as accessing powerful unique items and followers. So that's pretty interesting, so I think it's more of like a passive thing, so the more you do these like build dragon ships and upgrade them, in the background you kind of get upgrades. And while the settlements he captures become the property of elven nobles, he can still establish outposts and elven colonies within them, developing each to amass the resources he needs to fulfill his duties, building value and improving the output of his holdings. Not every settlement is granted, some are taken as colonies, capable of outfitting and enhancing the new dragon ships while unlocking bonuses of many aspects of his campaign and battle gameplay. When he grants a settlement, it always becomes an outpost. When he captures one, it becomes a colony. But colonies are limited in number, making their development a crucial strategic choice. So when I think of the colony, if you ever play Althorion, when he starts, it is an elven colony. So like any of those, like in the Badlands, or I believe there might be some in Lustria, or you can, it's like an old elven city. Those I believe you're going to be able to take as colonies. So those are pretty interesting, kind of, their expansionist way. The outpost system looks really cool. I think that's going to be interesting. But yeah, besides that, we're going to move on to his next mechanic, because there's a lot to talk about. And that would be the Assur Domination. They actually give us a preview of what the mechanic looks like in game. This will be Aislinn's main mechanic, where he gives territory to the other 6 legendary lords for points you can put into 3 categories. Either outpost dedication, dragon ship dedication, or outpost dedication, for various rewards and more dragon ships of course. And just like the rest of this, we were going to go over what CA says about it down below. As Aislinn captures and dedicates settlements of the Big Six, the outposts he constructs within the game generate a new resource called Dedication. Dedication is the currency you spend on the Assur Domination panel to upgrade various aspects of your dragon ship, outposts, / colonies. It's where you go to unlock new dragon ships and dragon ships settlement building chains, increase your capacity to build new elven colonies, and a dizzy host of other campaign and battle benefits. They really like saying the word dragon ship in this blog. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. Like I said, it's going to give you various rewards. And then we're on the Assur Domination panel, also represents Aislinn's contact between the Big Six, and tracks how many settlements you've handed each of them. The more settlements you chuck their way, the greater the gifts they offer in return. Each of these legendary lords can grant significant rate, attribute, and other upgrades to your armed forces, as well as magic items, weapons, banners, and even followers. Again, pretty good. I like that it says armed forces, so that makes me think maybe they'll have like some type of special units, hopefully. There's a lot to explore here, as each one of the Big Six offers their only themed around them, but which enhances your forces in specific ways, examining what they have to offer in detail, and gifting settlements to your lords whose benefit rift the most with your playstyle and unit preferences, and can bring tangible benefits to your campaign and battles. For me personally, Illyriel was the first natural choice, bestowing settlements upon. After giving her 6 settlements, she gives you the Dawnstone, a precious gem which grants the bearer 250 barrier hit points, big numbers, that went straight around Aislinn's storm-weathered neck. That is a very odd joke. But yeah, that's pretty good. I like that he gets all these benefits from it. Kind of odd that, he can get settlements his own, but I think it's cool because it kind of, like, it wraps up with the colony. So on top of, having outposts and your dragon ships, you have basically like a handful of like places you can respawn from, hopefully. Because if you do lose Aislinn, I don't know if you, just spawn back on your ship again or wherever he goes. Now on to his next mechanic, outposts and colonies. So when Aislinn or his admirals conquer a settlement, they can choose which of 6 legendary lords to gift to. However, they also retain some local building rights to further Aislinn's cause. For the most part, you'll be constructing a small resource generating outposts in these settlements, But if you do capture and hold one, you may instead establish an elven colony, a larger sub-settlement whose chief purpose is generating dragon ship supplies, a critical resource for expanding and upgrading Aislinn's dragon ship fleet. He definitely seems to be one of the more fun horde factions, since you have so much flexibility in how you play your campaign. Now we can continue with the description for the outposts. Outposts are 3-slot sub-settlements with roughly half their building focused on producing elven trade, dedication points, income, and a small drip feed of dragon ship supplies. The other half provides a defense and support function, ensuring outposts remain secure while contributing to the wider war effort on its own. A single outpost can produce just a small amount of what Aislinn will require, but as he expands further and conquers more territory, the aggregated resources he gains from outposts can become quite significant. Elven colonies are larger and more productive than outposts, with more building slots and a greater range of building chains. Aislinn is initially limited in the number he can build, though he can unlock more through the Assur Domination mechanic. So the outposts and colonies are meant to snowball in your campaign, so it's slow in the beginning, but as you expand your territory, you get more units and bonuses. Definitely reminds me of a certain legendary lord in Lustria. And then we have, these colonies are absolutely key to Aislinn's success, however they can generate a significant amount of dragon ship supplies. The greater amount of income and the number of dragon ship supplies they generate each turn is dependent on how much elven trade Aislinn is generating as many outposts, and the conversion rate from trade supplies to be enhanced through building chains. As well as another major benefit to the elven colonies is that they can become recruitment centers for Aislinn's naives and can produce units which aren't available via dragon ship recruitment, such as silver helms, reavers, and dragon princes. So when a new dragon ship is constructed, mooring up near a well-developed elven settlement, it's a great way to kickstart its own army, quickly making it a functional war vessel, while the dragon ship begins developing its own recruitment. Very interesting. I think it's very cool that it doesn't seem complicated, but it's very much, there's a lot going on in this. As well as being able to recruit certain allied units, that actually seems really cool, so it kind of gives it some challenge, like you have, like, the DLC roster and some, like, base spearmen, and then, this is kind of, like, caked onto there as you kind of grow your empire. Of course, as soon as Aislinn has to set up outpost or colony, he's far too much in a hurry to stick around to defend it. Fortunately, both have building chains dedicated to solid garrison upgrades, and even if you don't really own the settlement, you can mutually defend it if it comes under attack. I believe that's Elsbeth's thing as well, but I'm unsure, I could be wrong. Developing these sub-settlements and enhancing the flow of resources they provide is the foundation for both Aislinn's progression and growth of his naval might. Outposts generate elven trade, elven colonies convert them to dragon ship supplies, and dragon ship supplies can be spent on constructing and developing Aislinn's fleet of dragon ships. No other legendary lord works quite the same way. They are right about that. He definitely seems to be very unique compared to every other legendary lord we already have in the game. And I also never thought of controlling the seas with a fleet, but his campaign looks really fun, and even if you're not a high elf player, I think this campaign looks interesting to anybody. On to the unique feature, the dragon ships, and just like before, we get a preview of what it looks like in game. You also do start with 1, but you're able to get 6 in total in your campaign from doing your dedication upgrades. The fabled dragon ships form the backbone of Aislinn's tale. These towering twin-hulled war platforms are capable of producing mighty armies and delivering them to battle. They're also exceedingly rare artifacts. As Aislinn's campaign begins, he helms the only surviving dragon ship, but through his drive for Assur Domination and the generation of dragon ship supplies, he's able to construct more, each commanded by a named helm lord. When 5 such ships are completed and armed, he'll be equipped to face the Druchii invasion. That last part sounds really interesting, and it seems like the Dark Elves will either be similar to the endgame scenarios, when you get all 6 ships and they have a bunch of 20 snaps and they attack all the High Elves, or it's just going to be one big quest battle, but we'll just have to wait and see when it comes out. Similar to a horde army, each dragon ship is capable of developing advanced building chains, which unlock recruitment, growth replenishment, unit rank, and experience, as well as recruitment capacity and much more. In short, all kind of functionality and benefits you see with other factions landlubber settlements. So basically, as cool as normal settlements are and what you get from them, these dragon ships are going to be like advanced settlements, but can only do particular things really well. And more, however, the dragon ships provide their full unit recruitment option to any friendly vessels within the area of influence. It's well worth coordinating your fleets that newly recruited lords or sea helms can access as well-developed dragon ships. More advanced recruitment options, like elven colonies, this is a great way to kickstart new armies with higher tier units than otherwise you would have access to. And now we're on to the final bits of information for the dragon ship, and that would be each building in a chain requires dragon ship supplies to construct, so the development of your fleet moves in lockstep with your territorial expansions, as your major source of dragon ship supplies comes from the elven colonies you construct, and the elven trade which you feed them by your outposts. Aislinn's dragon ships are much more than floating horde armies. However, while it might take easy to conclude that they're a high elf equivalent to the Druchii Black Arcs, they differ in some important ways. For starters, they're rarer and harder to develop, as they rely on dragon ship supplies to construct and develop, as opposed to the gold from your treasury. Using the missed landing stance, Aislinn and his Helm Lords can covertly disembark their armies to form lightning strikes against enemy settlements, bypassing threats in between and even ranging further inland if they wish. All dragon ship infrastructure goes with them and can be relaunched when army reaches the coastline again, meaning they aren't tethered to the seas in the same way as the Black Arcs. In short, Aslan's dragon ships grant his forces a level of global mobility beyond any other faction. I did keep comparing them to the Dark Elves and their Black Arcs, but they definitely sound way stronger and have much more utility, and the fact that they can go on land is crazy. Also looks like an incredibly fun campaign, and I do think if we had more than 6, it would be, you could just take over the entire map, so I understand why there's a limit. And onto another unique feature, Aislinn's Sea Lanes. Aislinn's masterful knowledge of the seas grants his naives access to the sea lanes, which others know nothing about. These enabled the dragon ships to swiftly move around the world to locations where new elven colonies may be built, snatching settlements from unsuspecting factions to hand to the Big Six before moving on to the next venture. To further enhance this, the dragon ships can be upgraded with much greater movement range and the ability to replenish action points after using the sea lanes or winning battles, giving them a tremendous level of mobility. Altogether, the dragon ships grant you access to uncommonly speedy global movement. The fact you gain access to sea lanes nobody else can use, on top of the bonus movement speed you'll be getting, I wouldn't be surprised if players can take over the whole map in like 40 turns, especially with how strong the dragon ships are going to be. Most likely the best snowball faction yet. On to the last unique feature, the mist landing. Moving under the cover of the coastal mist, dragon ship captains can swiftly deploy entire armies on the land, irrespective of the coastal terrain. Cliff edges, mountain ranges pose no barrier when adopting the mist landing stance, enabling you to transition your armies from the sea directly into inland locations or into direct conflict with any settlements in range. The mist landing is probably the strongest stance in the entire game, and on top of already being able to go over any obstacle in terrain, you gain a 50 plus movement range and gives enemy armies melee defense -5 and movement speed -10. Can't wait to see how all this works in game, especially with all the other crazy bonuses you can get. Before we go over all the unit descriptions and what new info we have on them, let's check out the legendary Lord select screen for Sea Lord Aislinn, showing off his starting army and what bonuses he has. Has probably one of the coolest Lord select screens, especially with all the arrows going by. We're going to go over his starting army and kind of skim through his faction effects we've already kind of went over earlier in the video. So he has 2 ship companies, 2 Sea Guard, as well as 2 Sky Cutters, and he has 1 Oceanid unit, which is pretty cool. They do have the same symbol as the Sea Elementals, so they are like the little brother of them. So pretty good starting army. He can also most likely do some instant recruit with some of his mechanics, so again, pretty strong start with everything tied together. His faction effects, Assur Domination, we already got into that, has access to powerful dragon ships, can establish colonies and gift conquered regions to other high elf factions, has access to Assur Domination advancement, can issue proficial commandments owning the entire province. So that just means you can do commandments if you just have 1 settlement. Improved maritime navigation, that's the sea lanes. Local recruitment duration -1 turn for Oceanid, Sea Elementals, and Mareworm. Only 1 though. Lord effects enables sea-based attacks on port settlements, really good. Campaign movement range +10 while it's at sea. Missile strength +20 for ranged high elf units when fighting at sea. Upkeep -10 for Oceanid, Sea Elementals, and Mareworms, and including ship company. And lastly, his ability, Iron-Handed Captain. So it's pretty good. I would say his start and Lord effects are, like if we compare him to like Warhammer 2 DLC Lords, he already outshines them by a lot. Big fan of this. I'm shocked they gave us this a bit early, but it's a pleasant surprise. And now we're into the final part, just going all over the units and descriptions. We already know a lot about the High Elf roster, unlike, you know, some of Norska and some of Slaanesh. So I'm just going to read the paragraphs and kind of give my quick little thoughts about them. Try to get through them all real fast. Legendary Lord Sea Lord Aislinn is the first one, and he does have his dragon mount, kind of comparable to his rival who also has one. Kind of cool, he does still have his Sky Cutter, so if you just want to use that, you still have the option. I'm a big fan of the dragon mount. I think it's fine. I know some people didn't want him to have one, but I like that you have the option. So between their movement range upgrades and access to Aislinn's sea lanes, dragon ships can move around the world pretty damn quick, but Aislinn and Ulthuan's most experienced Sea Lord leaves your average dragon ship captain in the dust, or should they say surf. At any rate, his base trait, Protector of the Seas, grants him massive campaign movement range, while at sea that aside from any other campaign movement range bonuses conferred by his other skills, dragon ship upgrades Assur Domination benefits or embedded heroes. The same trait also reduces the upkeep for any ship company units and aquatic beasties in his army, buffs missile strength by a whopping 20% for his range units in the water, by the way, and gives him the Iron-Handed Captain ability, which he used Bellow at instantly rally a routing unit. So that's pretty good. I know the Sea Elementals don't really route, so I wonder if they'll give leadership maybe instead. He's a capable all-rounder melee combatant, gaining access to Lothern's Skycutter Chariot for adding punch and mobility, has a host of unique skills themed around his naval focus, complementing his Protector of the Sea trait. His skills grant a rising series of buffs and bonuses to Oceanids, Mariners, and Ship Company units. Combined with the further bonuses to these units found in the tech tree, Dragon Ship upgrades, and the Assur Domination, these units can soon be must-haves, particularly in the case of Oceanids and Ship Company, which begin life as fairly average early game picks. The final trick up Aislinn's sleeve is his new right, the Vacation of Mathland, as well as providing a buff to ship companies and sea monster units. Their prayer to the Lord of Storms and Sea also has a chance of resurrecting any high elf units destroyed in battle and returning them to full health during the 5-turn duration. That is pretty insane. I wonder if that means like all high elf units or just like some high elf units. But right now we're going to assume them all. So right now, Sea Lord Aislinn looking incredibly strong. I'm a big fan of how they done with him. I was a little worried when he didn't really have like, just dual swords, didn't really do any spells. But I think he's going to be a great combatant, and his campaign mechanics is going to overshadow any other high elf any other day. Speaking of high elf lords, the next thing we're looking at is Lord Seahelm. Experienced mariners and proud leaders, Seahelms are nautical lords who serve under Aislinn as his fleet captains. The Seahelm provides skill tree, provides access to the Great Eagle and the Skycutter Chariot, and enhancements for some key units, which can be recruited from the dragon ships. However, each Seahelm can focus on such benefits around these certain units and the greater high elf roster than you may choose to include in their army. By dedicating a Seahelm to one of the 3 gods in the Elven Pantheon, they can grant useful bonuses to ship companies and Lothern's Sea Guard, and spearmen, rangers, and archers, or dragons. So that's pretty cool. So I assume kind of similar to like some Tomb Kings and some like Tomb Kings I mean, that there'll be like a bunch of different like gods you can pick or like kind of you can pray to in the skill tree, and you'll get bonuses from that. Now for the quietest hero on all of Warhammer, legendary hero Caradhrian. So he's going to be the chosen of the Assyrian and the captain of the Phoenix Guard, joins Aislinn in defense of Ulthuan, extolling the virtues of the Phoenix King himself. Caradhrian is a powerful addition to your forces, whether acting independently or bolstering one of your main armies, with his considerable martial prowess. All this and he achieves without uttering a word, for his vow of silence must never be broken. Running the legendary Frostheart Phoenix Ashtar into battle, Caradhrian wields the mighty Phoenix Blade, which grants him flaming attacks and significant bonuses to both regular and armor-piercing damage, and as you might imagine, any Phoenix Guard he serves are empowered by his presence. Through Caradhrian's unique skill, a range of enhancements can be unlocked, including award saves, magical attacks, and bonus weapon strength for the Unbreakable trait for any Phoenix Guard units in his army. Phoenix Guard and Phoenixes in his army also gain a chance to rise from the ashes if destroyed in combat, and if wounded himself, his recovery time is considerably reduced. I like that he seems to be more of an anti-large character, where Aislinn is an anti-infantry character, making them a good pairing. Also, he can bring units back to life, sounds great with the new right Aislinn has. So very much like Skulltaker. I don't know how broken it can be, it might be really broken, but it also could be like, max 10%, but again, we'll just have to wait and see. We also got more info on the Mist Mage, the new hero type. Master of the new Lore of Mist, Mist Mages manipulate the weather around them to wrongfoot the enemy, enhance the capabilities of themselves and friendly units in battles, or summon units of elemental oceanids directly into battle. That I kind of called because I had a feeling that they were going to be able to summon since they were talked more of a support character. The Lore of Mist is more of a support lore focused around buffs and debuffs to elements such as vigor, speed, resistance, and leadership. Mist Mage's unique Cloak of Dew skill improves their resistance and grants them the Wayfarer trait, enabling them to zip around the battlefield very quickly, even quicker than when you mount them on a Great Eagle or Skycutter Chariot, and deliver their support where and when is most needed. The Mist Mage might not have any Vortex spells, but I think they're a good addition, especially with how much magic the High Elves really do have access to. Their melee infantry is going to be the Ship's Company. The rank and file of Aislinn's company are tier 1 infantry with average melee stats but reasonable armor and shields. They also have the aquatic trait, so unfazed when fighting in watery environments. However, with many tweaks, buffs, and enhancement that Aislinn and the Seahelms, Assur Domination, technology, and the dragon ships themselves grant to the ship company units, over time they begin to punch well above their weight, implied by their low recruitment cost and upkeep. I am curious how strong you can make the ship company. With all the bonuses that he's going to have in his campaign, I bet you can make him pretty broken, but then again we'll have to wait and see the gameplay tomorrow. Hopefully their stats are pretty good. Now we have the Monsters Infantry, Oceanids. The smaller of Aislinn's elemental units, Oceanids are sea elementals that perform a solid anti-infantry role, and they're great for pinning down enemies in place with their high weapon damage and they punch hard. Like other elemental units, they'll never rout, but they do begin taking health damage when their morale falls. You can definitely compare them to demon units, because a lot of demon units, when they rout, they'll fade away. So if you want to keep your Oceanids alive, just make sure their leadership is high, and make sure they're not losing a fight, because they will, start to chip away. Now we are on to the last two big beasties, the monster Sea Elemental. The huge Sea Elemental is a terrifying creature to behold. While unarmored, it has many resistances and immunity to contact effects. The two nastier tricks up its sleeves are its Wound Hex, which passively debuffs the strength and speed of units it's engaged with, and the Split Up, a summon ability which calls a unit of Oceanids to the field. When their summoned Oceanids fall 25% health, they explode, causing a nasty burst of splash damage and a pun fully intended to those around them. The abilities the Sea Elemental has seem super interesting, especially the Mortis-like engine ability it's going to have, the Wound Hex, and the summon ability with the Oceanids, which I did not expect at all. I thought maybe when it died it would spawn them a lot like other units, but again, with the Oceanids being special that they explode, I think this would be a great backline unit or just a general anti-infantry. And now we're on to the centerpiece of the DLC, the monster Mareworm, a colossal regenerating slab of missile-resistant terror. The Mareworm is normally the sort of thing that would keep a sailor up at night. Thankfully, Aislinn and the Sea of Helms have a kinship with these beasts, so they're a great addition for any dragon ship army, dealing a whopping 700 armor-piercing weapon damage. Coupled with the anti-large trait, their preferred target is clear, other big monsters. I already thought the Mareworm was pretty cool, but on top of it regenerating, being missile-resistant, and having 700 armor-piercing, on top of having anti-large, it definitely seems that it is meant to just plow through the lines and just fight other monsters. Whoever decided to give it regeneration and missile resistant, I don't know if they're crazy or just the coolest person ever, because as a high health player, that seems really fun, especially us getting a big monster like this. But I'm very curious how this performs. Maybe it doesn't have a lot of health, but we'll have to see how they balance it. And for our final unit, we have the Flying Chariot Lothran Skycutter. These eagle-born chariots come in two flavors. Crewed with bowmen are fitted with eagle claw bolt throwers. Both can fire while moving, which makes the bolt thrower variant particular a massive upgrade over its lumbering ground-based forebear. Packed with some marvelous contraptions into your army, you'll be able to precise target troublesome enemy units while keeping the Skycutters well out of harm's way. The Lothran Skycutter is this utility I didn't know I needed until I saw it, definitely adding the whole bunch of versatility to the high elf roster, because they are already pretty versatile, but with this, you have the entire skies you can comb, you can have the bow and arrow to protect your artillery that's already flying behind it. There's a lot you can do, so I'm very excited. I like all the units they showed so far. Big fan. Hopefully we can get some more details about the gameplay tomorrow. And that's going to wrap up the blog for the High Elves, and the info they showed off looks really good, especially the mechanics for Sea Lord Aislinn look incredible, with him literally sailing the world and helping out the High Elves make a comeback in Warhammer 3. I'm a big High Elf fan, so I'm happy with what they showed off. We're going to have a gameplay reveal tomorrow, and the next day we're going to have a stream. Also put in the comments so to let you guys know again. Let me know down below, was your favorite part they revealed and anything else you might have liked. So like and subscribe, it really helps with the channel. Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next one.